I'm trying to put it together. I was having some technical difficulties, everybody. Hello, my name is Ryan Belmore. It is 1 o'clock on Tuesday, March 3rd. And I was going across sounding like a squirrel and to our guest here. Can you hear me, Sandy? Oh, no.
Can't hear you, Ryan.
All right. Well, we'll kick you out and have you come back in again, and we will try it again. But Sandy is going to join us. We're having a little bit of a technical difficulty, and we'll see if she can hear us. But we are chatting with all the candidates. When I say we, I mean me. There are 3 candidates for Alexandria City Council. Early voting starts this Friday for the April 21st election. And Sandy can hear me.
I can.
All right. I made the mistake of, we were having some technical difficulties, or I was, before we went live, and you sent me the video of what it sounded like, and I made the mistake of listening to it before I went live. So Sandy, how are you?
I'm fine. I feel like we do need to share with your viewership and listeners that Ryan's voice sounded like a chipmunk, and he suggested that we press forward, and I absolutely not. We could not.
Yes, we got it to work, and I know on your podcast you're used to music and everything else, and I forgot to. I'm a one-man show, so I can't do it all by myself.
It's okay. I can consult later.
It's funny because I got into a little story time when I woke up this morning. I was not thinking this, but I've already talked to one of the 3 candidates, and I started off with how I knew that candidate because it's so different than how everybody else knows that candidate. And with you, it's the same way. And with the 3rd candidate, it's the same way, which is just maybe I'm just really odd. But my first introduction to you was my wife and I went to a wreath making workshop in Delray. And that is, I think, when I first met you.
I think that's accurate, which is funny because why would I be making a Christmas wreath? I was helping a friend run the wreath making seminar. Yeah. And getting into a little bit of trouble. I'm a little bit of a mischief maker at the wreath making class, but that's fine. And, it worked out.
So you're at Empty Bowls over the weekend, which was a great event. I did not get a chance to make it to the chili cook-off, but I want to give you an opportunity to address anything that may have come out of that.
Well, Ryan, it is well known among my friends and colleagues, but maybe not well known citywide, that I may be the worst cook in all of Alexandria. And by that, I mean I have absolutely no instincts in the kitchen. The best place for me is in the bar stool on the other side of the counter. And I won the vegetarian category of the Delray Chili Cook-Off. So DRCA, love you, thank you. And it was actually, they gave a large trophy. So. Right. We retitled the campaign Sandy for the Chili. Okay. For a couple of hours, and we named the chili the sweet taste of democracy. So we would offer. We said, "Would you care to taste the sweet taste of democracy?" I feel like maybe that was the winning move.
Okay. Now tell me, with all of the great things and big wins you have going on in life, such as cooking up the best vegetarian chili in Alexandria, why run for Alexandria City Council, and why now?
Ryan, I think the part of that question that is the most meaningful to me is the now. Why now? And the reason for that is very simple and very specific. And that's because Kirk McPike is leaving behind a very specific portfolio that needs championing, that is very important to me. So he's leaving behind work on climate, on reproductive justice, on labor, a lot of legislative priorities and legislative work. These are all things that I care very deeply about and can be useful on. So this is less for me about, I'd like to be on city council, and more, I see my city in a position where we are going to lack something that we voted for, that we wanted, and that we weren't prepared to lose at the local level. I'm thrilled that Kirk is moving on to the House of Delegates and think he will do wonderful work there. I would like to see the work that he started continue to be championed. And of course, I have some issues of my own that I'm really interested in working on. But when I looked at what this race could be and what we were missing, I thought, man, I need to go out and recruit somebody to fill this specific role. And then I realized I'm not the Democratic Party chair anymore. I can do that. That's something that I can provide. And, just like when you're deciding whether or not to have a second child and you really got to do it before the first one's out of diapers, I thought, while I am already used to and spending, a good volume of time in serving this city in one way, before I sit down, let me continue to stand and offer myself up in this way to serve our community. So that's why I'm running. It's now. This is the moment where I'm needed.
You just went through the Democratic primary where there are umpteen candidates, or it felt like this has been the longest year ever so far. And a lot of the other candidates get a lot of the votes. And I'm just wondering what you learned from your fellow candidates, as well as what you learned really, the message, or what you can learn, or what do you have to do to get those people who voted for some of the other candidates to come to your way?
I learned a lot from the experience, namely, maybe this is not the exact answer that you want, but in my 4 years as party chair, spent a lot of time supporting and growing the bench. And one of the reasons I got into the race early was because I do feel strong responsibility for and enthusiasm for emerging leaders in the Democratic Party here locally, statewide, nationally. And I didn't want to challenge people who I have encouraged to get in the game in the past. I didn't want the authenticity of my belief and enthusiasm for their work to come into question personally, because I care about every single one of the people who ran. I care about, and I care about their path forward. So it was a very interesting learning experience for me to work separately from people who I consider myself a teammate of, and in some cases a team leader of. And it was very, very difficult for me personally and professionally to be sort of sequestered from the general party structure and the people running it now, especially leaving 4 years in the leadership role and not being able to be as communicative and helpful during a really difficult and busy time for the people who sort of took the mantle after me.
I know, I don't think I want to call them out. It would be in a good way if I did, but it wouldn't be fair to everybody because I don't know what everybody is doing. But I know some of the candidates that you competed against or faced against are still out there, and they're knocking on doors for you. They're knocking on doors for the party. They're doing what they need to for the constitutional amendment. I'm just wondering, are you hearing anything from their supporters or those candidates, or any ideas or concerns that are kind of new, or you're considering or thinking of them now that you maybe weren't before?
Ryan, I expressed this last night at the ADC meeting. The general sense that I'm getting is one of exhale, one of relief that we're all back together again. I think in general, all 5 of the candidates for the Democratic nomination have a baseline series of values that we can all agree on. And so a lot of what I'm hearing about is what I heard before the primary, but most of the communication that I'm getting regarding the consolidation of Democrats into one nominee is one of coming together, of unity, of, here is an issue that I really care about. And now that you're my nominee, I'd like to talk about it with you the way I spoke about it with another candidate. And, in general, I am a bit of a herding dog myself. I want everybody together. I like to build consensus. I like to bring people together. So that's a delight to me. And I'm talking to everyone about everything and feel really good about the return to cohesion.
Maybe this goes to, I'm not even going off my list. I don't know why I spent all the time putting it. Maybe this goes to the consensus part or how you'd be as a leader. But, you're facing 2 independent candidates. And so far I've only talked to one, but I think the place where they're coming from is we already have 6 Democrats, 6 blue. Here's an opportunity to add somebody that will question and challenge and What is the benefit of having all Democrat, or how do you see yourself possibly carrying the conversation or making sure all sides are heard?
Ryan, that is a really interesting question, and I'm glad you're bringing it up because I love to talk about this specific thing. Right now, the Democratic Party is such that it represents everyone except MAGA Republicans. So having difficulty finding a place for oneself in the Democratic Party right now, which is such a large umbrella, is meaningful. On our city council right now in Alexandria, at the state level, at the federal level, there are so many different kinds of Democrats. I think primary education is important. We were joking a little bit about the podcast before. We started that podcast because we believe so strongly in primary education, even here at the local level, because there are a lot of different flavors of Democrat, and it's important to understand who you're getting. So I sort of reject the premise of the question, which is that the city council itself, because it has, right now 5 Democrats and the mayor is a monolith, to be false. So do I think that we need to add, let's face it, a Republican voice to council? Only if we want to stop progress, only if we want to, spend time on the docket discussing things that Alexandria has rejected time and time again. So I think it's very important to maintain Alexandria's values and principles moving forward. I think our city council has 4 really aspirational and achievable and appropriate values-based goals, a North Star. And I would like to see those values and those goals pushed forward. Now, the diverse voices on council can discuss how to do that, how to do those things. But no, I do not want to give any purchase for any sort of MAGA Republican behavior or values propositions on council. I don't think it's what Alexandria wants. I certainly don't hear that from any Alexandrian. And that is the working model I'm using in this campaign and moving forward.
Over the campaign, and one of the reasons I started these videos way back, I guess it was COVID, because people couldn't go door to door, and now here we are, elections years later. And I think it's a good opportunity. Sometimes the candidates who lose, not sometimes, most of the time, the candidates who lose or who don't go on to represent you have some really, really good ideas that you should hear about. So even if Sandy's your candidate, you should go listen to the other candidates. Just you might hear something about. But along the campaign trail so far this year, it's been a lot of surveys, a lot of questions, a lot of interviews. You've been put on record about affordable housing and zoning for housing and bike lanes and this and that. And, I know you've been ranked as being consistent along the way, but I'm just wondering if the more people you hear from, the more residents, have you changed on anything, or have you learned anything about some of the places you were taking early on and now different?
Ryan, I think anyone who knows me will tell you I'm an incredibly curious person. I love information. I love people. I love to listen. I love to assimilate new information into a larger ethos. I have not switched position on anything because what we have been talking about in general in this campaign so far are large umbrella values and issues in general. And so a lot of the time when I'm listening to people focused on the microcosm of a very specific issue, I'm thinking, how does this play into the larger model of what we want to see for Alexandria? And that's the job of city council, right? Candidates and council members and public servants of all kinds need to take in information as it pertains to individual residents and apply it to a larger systems model and really discover how individual experiences play into the overall Alexandria experience. So Certainly, I have learned about individual experiences and some sort of cultural neighborhood personalities that I either wasn't aware of or wasn't attuned to before. But the reality is, I think in this campaign, many people have learned that I live in Delray. Because for the past 4 years and before that, I mean, I've knocked every precinct in this city and, have been in homes in every corner. So I already had a pretty good idea of what was going on in the city, but I definitely have areas that I would like to learn more on. And I have, I keep saying, if you've met me, I have a spreadsheet full of issues and potential points of contacts to learn more. My one of the driving forces of my personal and professional life is just get smart, and then appeal to and apply it to the humanity of the situation.
Yeah, and just one. I guess I ask myself this sometimes: is sitting through a 7-hour bicycle and pedestrian or parking meeting, and say how you hear both sides, and there's not only two sides. There's like seven sides, because some people are like, oh well, I support this, but we could change this. How do you see yourself as a potential counselor, like listening to it all, but making the decision best for everybody in Alexandria, which I think is the job description, but still factoring in everybody?
First of all, and I can't stress this enough, Ryan, I love a meeting. I love a meeting. I love an in-person meeting. I love a well-run meeting with a tight agenda and a focused plan of action. I love that a lot. I love and enjoy listening to people specifically. I'm really interested in people's points of view. I'm also really interested in finding shared goals and shared through lines in those stories and those perspectives, and figuring out how we can build on them and where consensus lies. We were just talking about, have I changed my mind on anything? Have my value, and I said, well, we've been talking about large values-based things, so no, my values haven't changed. But I am very open to, I'm very open and flexible in my thinking about issues and what needs to be done. I prioritize collaboration. I prioritize creativity. And above all, we've been saying a lot, because I've been called a clear-eyed optimist many times. I believe I am not hindered by the idea that there are some things that are impossible for us to do. I just came off leading a 450-person organization that started at about 100 or 150. I came in with a 2-page list of big swings I wanted to take that many people thought were impossible, especially someone who smiles a lot. Especially for someone who smiles a lot. So I think I've proven that style is not only functional, but is useful and gets things done. So that's what I hope to bring to council.
You get, let's say you get elected April 21st, you get appointed sometime in May after the budget. So the budget's out of the way, so you don't have to worry about that. What's a successful first 60 days, 90 days? What would you hope to kind of get on the ground and running with?
Well, first of all, I'm disappointed I wouldn't get to vote on the budget. I really would love to participate. So there's that. People keep approaching me with it like, haha, you don't have to take a hard budget vote. And I'm like, no, I want in. My first days. Listen, my goals are to do a few things. Number one, I want to work hard. So what I would like to do is identify some lanes, with the mayor and with fellow council members, some lanes that I can fill. I plan to be a workhorse. Number one, Kirk, heavy lifter, leaves behind a substantial amount of just actual work. Number two, I plan to be prepared at all times. So there's a lot of reading and a lot of homework to be done on city council. A lot of people find it boring. You were just talking about, the meetings. I'm into it. I'm ready to go. Number three, I think there are some opportunities for relationship building and growth among elected officials in Alexandria and regionally. So I would like to take advantage of my existing relationships with elected officials in the region and in the state, and also here locally to build some really strong working relationships with school board and with our, not just our specific Alexandria Richmond delegation, but with our regional Northern Virginia delegation. One of the issues we have here is that for the past 3 years, Alexandria has been absolutely slighted by our state government, by former Governor Glenn Youngkin. Now that we've got, Abigail Spanberger in office, which Alexandria was instrumental in seating her. And I, congratulate all of the Alexandria Democrats and people who got involved in that to make that happen. We are already seeing worlds of difference at the state level. But, what we've got to focus on here is we get, I think it's like 5.8% from the state, which is not enough to cover the state mandated programs we have to pay for. So, and that applies to our schools, it applies to our budget in general. So what we've really got to do is focus on advocating for Alexandrians who are often greatly disadvantaged by the funding formulas applied in Richmond because our home values are so high. So the story of our home values isn't necessarily the story of our needs and disparities in Alexandria. So, I want to get to work. I want to fill, some important shoes and specific issues and lanes that Kirk was filling. And I want to work on a good deal of relationship building, city and regionally. Also, and I hesitate to continue talking, but my background is in constituent services. And so I would love to see where and how it is possible to develop either my own professional and personal constituent services practice or on behalf of council, if that's something that I know that's something that has been tried before, but I'm really interested in serving constituents directly.
Is that, I guess if we could change that. First I wrote down, I want to address the comment that you made that I said more meetings, but I'm just in meetings all day long and all.
You would not be the first.
No. But are there home runs that we can hit that would make incremental quick changes to the things like affordability and education and protecting our government workers, or is it more incremental?
I mean, it's incremental. I know that when you're running for office, you're supposed to have a lot of criticism about what's currently happening and you're going to fix it all. I'm really proud of a lot of the strides that our Alexandria City Council has made. Now, I know that on a day-to-day basis, people have, all kinds of individual disgruntlements with specific issues that apply to their daily lives, and that is fine. But the idea that there is an easy home run that our mayor and city council haven't taken that would improve lives immediately, to me is just not possible. We have a fantastic group of public servants serving on city council. Love them all, hate them all, individually or in small groups. The reality is, I know all of these people personally, and they are absolutely committed to Alexandrians and improving lives. So if there were an easy big swing to take, they would have done it. So yes, this work is incremental, and we have to get everybody on board to do it. Sometimes, and sometimes that is an issue of communication and drawing the big picture for everyone so that they can see how these, small incremental steps and these small individual conveniences or inconveniences apply to a larger picture that makes our city, the bold, progressive, helpful, livable place that it is.
On the same ballot is the proposed constitutional amendment regarding threshold redistricting. Any thoughts on that?
Yes, it is crucial. It is crucial that we pass this. We are Alexandria. I'm running for Alexandria City Council. And part of being an Alexandrian is understanding our role in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And part of being a citizen of the Commonwealth of Virginia is understanding our role in the federal government, in the federal atmosphere. Right now, you cannot serve in public life without acknowledging that we have a responsibility to each other and to the American people. And that is to counterbalance and hold the line against dangerous MAGA extremism in the United States. which filters down and affects us all the way down here. I mean, we have the city manager was talking about having reserved $1 million in our budget to compensate for dangerous and terrible decisions that will be made at the federal level that will affect us directly financially and therefore, personally. So it is imperative that we in Virginia vote yes on this constitutional referendum to counterbalance really destructive actions that have been taken in places like Texas that will disenfranchise voters, not just in Texas, but in the entire nation, and give Donald Trump more and more power. What I love about this referendum is that there is a tight timeline for it. Told you I love a tight timeline. I love a plan. I love an agenda. So this referendum lasts through the 2030 census. So what we're talking about is redistricting for a finite amount of time in an emergency situation to counteract an extremist takeover of Congress. So yes, I back it 100% and am spending, a good deal of time on this issue, and I'm very proud that Democrats across the city will be canvassing with my lit and the yes on referendum information. And I plan to be out, and we'll talk about it all day if you'd like, Ryan. It's very exciting.
We probably could, but I might lose my voice.
No, but listen, anyone who is opposed to this right now needs to be asked some serious questions about where their politics and their values lie. This is incredibly telling and important.
And coming up later, I've been working on it all day, but coming up in, I don't know, as soon as I can finish reading it again, I have a 2,500 word story on redistricting and what it actually means. So an explainer is coming some point today. Kind of the soup of the day or the topics of the day or of this election, we're hearing a lot about, or across the city, the big fire topics are, the pump station and the bike lanes and zoning for housing. What are people actually saying and discussing and bringing to your attention when you go door to door?
They want to talk about ICE.
No.
I mean, one of the themes here today, Ryan, is are we with this election, are we talking about local government or are we talking about the federal government? And Alexandrians are among the most educated and talented electorate in not just the Commonwealth, but maybe in the nation. And we are so close to the federal government. And, I always joke that when somebody knocks on your door in Alexandria, it could be the former ambassador to Kosovo. It could be a nonprofit CEO. The people who do the work on the ground here are also the people who care very much about the federal government. And so when we, for a long time, not anymore, but for a long time, the Washington Post was our local newspaper. So people here really do care about things at the federal level. They're watching what's happening in Minneapolis. They're watching what's happening here in Alexandria. They want to talk about ICE and they want to know who has got their back.
So what do we do as a city council? I mean, for those who haven't been following along or have been following along, we've seen that city council has come out and put out statements, regarding Sheriff Sean Casey. They put out statements regarding ICE. Sheriff Casey is putting out statements. What can we do in our little bubble regarding such a national topic?
Well, first of all, we need to understand where the candidates stand. So at these debates, when ICE has come up, look around and see who's shaking their head no when I talk about how, we are not going to acknowledge ICE as a legitimate portion of the American government at this time. We need to understand who is comfortable working with ICE and who is comfortable pushing back. And not only that, but there are a lot of people, in Alexandria and otherwise, who really want to take loud, bold action. And I understand the need and desire to want to show our sort of capital G goodness and to make bold claims and to sort of stake, put our values on the line. I agree and feel the same way. And there is a real possibility when we do those things to shine a spotlight and attract attention to the most vulnerable people we're actually trying to protect. So I am very interested in the bold, swift action we would need to take if ICE came to Alexandria. They're already here, but came to Alexandria in the way that they've come to Minneapolis. But there is also a lot of quiet, deliberative, intentional work that can be done and is being done behind the scenes that is done with care for the people who are actually vulnerable in this situation, with the intention to not stoke fear and the intention to take protective action as opposed to action related to ego.
Yeah, there's a lot of calls from some of the, from others, city council meetings. If anybody has the joy of going to a Saturday public hearing, you'll hear a lot about defunding the police or defunding the sheriff. And what I'm getting is you're saying it doesn't always have to be so public. There's things that can be done behind the scenes or quieter.
I mean, sure, but I'm not, I hope that everyone listening can hear me when I say, I'm not saying, oh, it's not a big deal. We don't need to worry about that. We don't need to take big, bold action. What I'm saying is that there is a place for that. And there is also a place for important work that takes place out of the line of sight of the federal government, Donald Trump's, TikTok account, and therefore perhaps out of the eyesight of, the Alexandria public. And what I think is really important in this election is for people who are voting to ask themselves who they would like in these conversations and in this room, representing their particular ethos on ICE and protecting our immigrant neighbors. And can they be trusted to do what's necessary to take protective action on behalf of vulnerable people in our city? And my contention is, yes, I can be trusted to do that, will, and prioritize it greatly and have a long list of receipts to support that.
You said ICE, you're hearing a lot about. Give me two more that you're hearing, or give me one more and give me a surprise that you're hearing about. Either one.
I'm hearing a lot from people who are already deeply involved in the city, who have specific things they're interested in taking care of, like very, niche sort of issues. So, I've got, he'll laugh when I say this, but I've been emailing back and forth with someone who's got a lot of concerns about the Old Town Pool. I've got, people in my inbox, just today, someone who works very diligently with improving and running the juvenile detention center and would like me to come see what he sees so that we can understand what the budget looks like there. I certainly will be spending a lot of time with labor. I'll be, I'm walking through an apprenticeship school in the coming weeks. But what I'm hearing from Alexandrians mostly is we got to get it together. I think we have it together to a great extent, but what I'm hearing from Alexandrians a lot is I want my elected officials to solve problems. I want them to put things aside. I want them to focus on the task, and I want them to solve problems, very specific problems and larger problems. I want them to take protective action of people who are more vulnerable than me. And I want my own thoughts and needs to be considered by the whole. When that door closes behind you, I want to know you're in there and that you're bringing me with you. And that is a large part of my personal ethos and something that I can do.
Important thing there for everybody to remember is, the headlines, and I'm guilty of it, are normally around the same 4 or 5 topics on a weekly basis or monthly basis. But, there's probably 160,000 different ideas of things that can be improved in the city.
There are. Schools are a huge one. The CIP, it's a huge one. Yeah.
What's, besides what we talked about earlier with Chile, what's the most important thing voters don't know about you?
Ryan, this is an interesting topic because at even among Alexandria Democrats who I think have felt that they've known me very well, I think it's become clear that I have been speaking on behalf of a large organization for so many years that they are learning things about my own personal history and what has sort of carved my ethic and my leadership style that they didn't know and that they wouldn't have known because that was not my job to share. So it's an interesting question because I've had to think, man, what don't people know? I think right now, maybe I'm a huge sci-fi fan. So
Okay.
that's my genre. So talk to me about any sci-fi TV show, book, uh, anything like that at all times, especially if it's Star Trek. I want
Okay.
to talk about Star Trek all the time. And maybe also in the past couple of years, I've become somewhat of a handyman. So I like to fix things myself and improve things myself with my own two hands. And I do so generally while listening or watching sci-fi.
All right. Look at that. Personal passion. Before you just had to be passionate. Now you have to be personally passionate. That's what I wrote down.
Mm, there are a lot of things I'm really passionate about.
Yeah.
I will give you a concrete one and one that's a little bit more ethereal. I am personally passionate about animals and protecting animals and the general philosophical question of what we owe to them and how we share the planet with them. So a lot of that leans heavily into my own thoughts and platform really on climate. Climate action, climate justice as an issue of social justice is very important to me. And another passion, this is the more ethereal one. This is like, John Kerry saying his favorite word is nuance. I am very passionate about ideas. I am what is called a super ideator. Through a lot of career testing, I have learned that my rate of idea flow is, above the 99th percentile. So I'm constantly ideating. And the trick is understanding which ideas to keep and which to toss aside. I am passionate about ideating with groups of people, with having sort of judgment-free, dispassionate conversations about what could be. And I think that's the future. I think that's how we create the future is ideas.
We'll wrap up with one more. Why should an Alexandria voter choose you over the other two candidates in this race? Why should they fill in the dot next to your name starting this Friday?
Well, first of all, I'm an Alexandria City Public Schools parent. And a lot of what I hear at the doors, as we discussed, has to do with schools and with the relationship between the city and the school system. And I am deeply invested in that area. I've been in the school system for 10 years. I'll be in for another 5. And I can absolutely be counted upon to connect those two areas of our city government, both, on the dais and in daily life. Second, Ryan, I don't think that the majority of Alexandrians want to be zoning experts. I don't think they want to think about bike lanes and, talk about permitting. And I don't think that's how they want to spend their time. I think and have been told and have heard from Alexandrians that what they want is someone whose ethos aligns with theirs, whose values align with theirs, who can represent them really well on the dais and behind closed doors in ways that they don't have to guard and constantly be vigilant about because they know someone's got their back. And I think that I am incredibly representative of many Alexandrians in that way. I would like to, am capable of, have the skill set, the communication skills, the constituent services background, the knowledge of the actual geography and neighborhoods in the city, the connectivity to the public school system, which is the great equalizer in this town, to provide that service. And so that's why people should vote for me, is because we share an ethos and I can be trusted to act upon that ethos without wavering, both in public and privately. They know what they're going to get. They know they're going to have a strong advocate. And they know that I can be depended upon to deliver results as I have been doing for years.
Your website is sandyforthecity.com. If people want to learn more, contact you, all of that good stuff is all available on your website. Only because you do it on. Let me try to get some music and. This is how Sandy and crew end hers. So, and then they say it's time to turn the music down and something up and all of this.
Time to turn the lights up and the music down.
There you go.
Podcast party comes to a close.
See that? I just don't have it. I only did it for a couple interviews. I did it for 5 interviews, so I don't have it. But I appreciate you taking the time today. If people have questions, want more information, they can visit your website. And very best of luck.
I appreciate you so much, Ryan. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who listened. I know this requires a lot of homework, and I appreciate you doing it.
Of course. And we will talk to you soon. And that is Sandy Mark. She is your Democratic candidate for Alexandria City Council. Early voting starts this Friday. It's still going to be Friday, March 6th, no matter how many times I look at the clock or the watch. And goes through April 21, where you can vote in person as well. And you'll be also voting on the 21st on the constitutional amendment, which is redistricting. If you've watched, if you want to rewatch this conversation, share it, go back and listen to anything, compare, contrast the candidates, all available on alexandriabrief.com. I'll turn them all into podcasts. I'll turn them all into stories. So just keep an eye on there. I'm a one-man crew, and I'll get them turned around as quick as I can. I want to thank everybody for watching. We will talk to you soon.